From dust to diamonds. In a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Chicago, where tall maple trees lined the streets and the houses whispered stories of old money and new beginnings, lived a girl named Elena Carter. Elena was known for her beauty, but not in the way magazines described it. Her beauty wasn't loud or attention-seeking. It was gentle, like the first sunlight of morning. Her deep brown eyes carried determination, and her smile, though rare, had the power to warm even the coldest room. At just 22, Elena worked as a housekeeper in one of the grandest homes in the area. The Whitmore mansion stood like a palace, white pillars, glass chandeliers, and rooms so large they echoed with silence. Every morning, Elena arrived before sunrise, tying her hair into a neat bun, putting on her simple uniform, and stepping into a world that felt far away from her own. She cleaned floors that reflected like mirrors, polished silverware that she knew she might never own, and made beds softer than clouds she had only dreamed of resting on. But Elena wasn't bitter. She carried something stronger than envy. She carried purpose. Elena had grown up in a small apartment with her mother, who worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat. When her mother fell ill, Elena had no choice but to leave college and step into the workforce. Life didn't give her a soft landing, but it gave her something else: resilience. While working at the mansion, Elena noticed things others didn't. She watched how Mrs. Whitmore managed her business calls with confidence. She paid attention to how guests discussed investments, startups, and opportunities. She listened quietly, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. And every night, after long hours of scrubbing and organizing, Elena went home and studied. She didn't waste time scrolling through social media or complaining about her life. Instead, she read books about business, watched free online courses, and learned everything she could about entrepreneurship. Her dream wasn't just to survive, it was to build something of her own. One evening, while cleaning the kitchen, Elena overheard a conversation that changed everything. A group of guests was discussing eco-friendly home products, cleaners that were safe, natural, and sustainable. One of them mentioned how the market was growing rapidly, and how customers were willing to pay more for products that were both effective and environmentally friendly. Elena paused. She looked down at the cleaning supplies in her hands, strong chemicals with warning labels and harsh smells. She thought about her mother, whose health had worsened over the years, possibly from constant exposure to similar products. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. An idea had been born. What if she could create natural cleaning products? Ones that worked just as well, but were safe for families and the environment. The next day, she started experimenting. With limited money, she began small, mixing vinegar, baking soda, lemon extracts, and essential oils in her tiny kitchen. The results weren't perfect at first. Some mixtures were too weak, others too strong. But Elena didn't give up. Failure, to her, was just part of learning. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, she refined her formulas. She tested them at the Whitmore mansion, carefully replacing certain products and observing the results. To her surprise, they worked. The surfaces shined, the air smelled fresh, and most importantly, they were safe. Encouraged, Elena saved every dollar she could. She cut back on everything. No new clothes, no dining out, no unnecessary spending. Eventually, she had just enough to create a small batch of her products. She designed simple labels, gave her brand a name, Pure Nest, and began selling online. At first, nothing happened. Days passed without a single order. It was discouraging. After all her effort, it felt like the world wasn't noticing. But Elena remembered why she started. So she kept going. She began sharing her story, how she was a housekeeper who wanted to create safer homes. People started to connect with her authenticity. Slowly, orders trickled in. 1 order became 5. 5 became 20. Customers loved the products, not just because they worked, but because they came from a place of genuine care. Within a year, Pure Nest had grown beyond Elena's tiny kitchen. She rented a small workspace, then hired her first employee, a single mother who needed a chance, just like Elena once did. Local stores began stocking her products. Influencers started talking about them. Reviews poured in, praising both quality and purpose. And one day, something unbelievable happened. Mrs. Whitmore called Elena into the living room. Elena felt nervous. Had she made a mistake? But instead, Mrs. Whitmore smiled. "I've been hearing about your company," she said. "Pure Nest, isn't it?" Elena nodded, surprised. "I had no idea it was you," Mrs. Whitmore continued. "I